Living under police protection for 2 years, Samia Maktouf is the go-to lawyer for victims of terrorism in France, and that's made her a jihadist target. Despite death threats, she represents victims of the 2016 lorry attack in Nice. She's also taken part in other terror trials in France, including those of the men behind the massacres at the Charlie Hebdo offices and the Bataclan.
C'est très très important que ces procès aient un retentissement.
I think it's very important that these trials have an impact on public opinion. First off, it's a response to the terrorists, to tell them we're not giving in. We are going to stand up and continue to live as we did before. This is our way of life, our democracy, and our rule of law, and we'll defend it.
C'est notre état de droit que nous devons défendre.
The hearing is about to resume. I have to go.
Maktouf has been working with bereaved parents of the Nice attack for the past 4 months. She wants to make sure they have a chance to speak up.
It's very important that the families get to have a say. The court and the defendants who are presumed innocent must listen to them.
Over 2,000 bereaved family members and survivors were part of the trial, and almost 300 of them asked to testify in court. Many of those who survived the lorry that ploughed into the crowd on the Promenade des Anglais were left injured or traumatized. Some lost several loved ones that night, and others lost entire families.
I feel a lot of helplessness, sadness, and fear, and just generally uneasy.
I want to preserve my dignity, my pride, and my courage. I'm thinking of all of the victims and their children. I want us to remember this day without bitterness.
Telling the court their story is a crucial way for survivors and the bereaved to achieve a sense of closure and also to pay homage to their deceased loved ones.
Les victimes attendent avant tout que soit établie la vérité.
The victims want the truth. They also want to be heard and have their suffering recognised. They waited for this trial, and they've seen how the 2015 Paris attacks trial gave those victims a sense of acknowledgement.
6 years on from the 14th of July massacre, witnesses and family members of the victims gathered at court. Those who did decide to speak up didn't have to go through the process alone.
We have to think of the victim's family like an overturned puzzle. The court hears evidence from investigators, experts, and witnesses, and that will help answer some questions. It helps survivors put the puzzle pieces back together and regain some sense of peace. You can look to the future feeling that you've unburdened yourself. You're able to face the future with a greater sense of calm.
Myrti was just 9 years old when on the 14th of July 2016 she went to watch the fireworks along Nice's famed promenade with her mother and best friend. She survived, they didn't. Now aged 15, she wanted to address the court.
I decided to come to court about 6 weeks ago, and then I wrote my witness statement. I had a lot of trouble figuring out what I was going to write. It's a really difficult thing to do. I wanted to speak about the future, because right now, preparing for the future is what is most important.
Myrti worked on her statement with her father and her lawyer.
Her words were moving. I had tears in my eyes. It was overwhelming. She speaks with such maturity and resilience. It was very touching to hear her look to the future. The child witnesses of this attack saw death so close up that their childhoods were gone for good. Those children will live with that understanding of death every day for the rest of their lives.
Today is the day that the survivors and bereaved have been waiting for. It's their chance to speak. Earlier that morning, Samia Maktouf had addressed the court on behalf of her clients.
It went really well.
The lorry driver was a Tunisian man living in France. Maktouf told the court that jihadist terrorists such as him love neither France nor Tunisia.
We are
relieved to have been able to pass on that message. The court needs to understand that the defendant was indoctrinated. They need to understand how the groundwork for radicalization was laid and how the suspects were molded into shape.
But the trial won't give victims all the answers they may have hoped for. A separate investigation into whether enough had been done by local authorities to prevent such an attack in the first place is ongoing.